Hi folks, Jim Nolan here with Novi Labs, and today we're going to do a quick review of the well card within the Insight Engine platform. So the well card we like to think of as the one-stop shop for all of the data that we've been able to aggregate from the various state and other resources that we download all of our data from. So to start off, I'm going to use one of my favorite keyboard shortcuts, which is Control A. It'll open up our API search menu, and I'm just going to paste in an API I was looking at a little bit ago. So we click OK, and it's going to expand our well card from the right hand side of the screen. So to start on our summary page, we're just giving you a quick overview, right? Is this the right well? Did you click on the well that you meant to? And we'll also highlight that well and show it on the map with a red line. So here we can see that API, its name, the operator, when it first came online, the county, formation, and its current well status, which we have it marked as an active producer. Over here on the right, we see some of that information, again, just kind of repeated across the top, and then the production decline curve through time as assigned to this well. This chart's pretty nifty. If you want, you can kind of turn off individual streams or have them all on at the same time. You can full screen it if you really want to focus on a single well, and you can even bridge on our PDP 50 or 50-year forecast for this well. The show hide sliders button right here will give you the ability to kind of expand and contract the x-axis here so that you can kind of slide through time and get an idea of what this well do like, for example, in its first, 2 years or so, is what we're kind of filtered down to right here. All right. We also have the ability to look at rate versus time, cum versus time, or rate versus cum. So if you want that kind of up and to the right look instead of the decline base view, you can change that pretty quickly. You can also normalize it based on the drilled lateral length, make it a per 1,000-foot average, or make an assumption of it's a 2-miler. So if you want to set everything on an equal playing field, or even just get a production per lateral foot metric, very quick and easy to do that. We're currently viewing this as a linear data set, but we can also go and make it a log. If you're looking for spikes or drops, this will really exaggerate them. We're currently looking at oil, gas, water, but you can do a BOE, gas-oil ratio, water-oil ratio, and you have 6:1 if you're going based off of BTUs, or 20:1 if you're looking at an economic basis. By default, we'll give you the months on production, so you can see the first month of production all the way through to the, in this case, 32nd month of production that's been reported. But if you want to see it in real time, you can change it over to calendar dates. And you can also shift it from daily to monthly. So if you want a really quick way to kind of audit the data that we're representing in Insight Engine versus a state regulatory agency that may also report the data, you can come in here and make it a calendar date, linear, set by month, and then you can kind of see our production decline through time and compare that and audit us if you'd like. Down here we have some more summary information, like is this a horizontal, vertical, or U-turn well, its formation, TVD and MD, was this a parent or a child well, lateral length, proppant loading, fluent loading, and how close is the closest well, just kind of agnostic to vertically, horizontally, like how close are we to a near neighbor. We'll also provide a cut showing oil, gas, BOE, and water. Peak volumes, 12-month cums, 24-month cums, the lifetime cum, so up to this point in time. And then we'll also provide our EUR 50 for that. And then down across the bottom, you can see the life cycle from permit all the way through to IP. This is a currently active and producing well, so no plug date quite yet. We have a couple more options and tabs across the top that we'll explore. So up next is the production tab. And nothing changes too much at the top, right? Because we're looking at production, so we're going to keep our chart across the top. But what changes really is down across the bottom. This is where you can get to the actual monthly production records assigned to this well. So I'll just click on the full screen button, and it'll just kind of give us a full tab of just production data. So we have it grouped by year. You can kind of collapse these buckets and it'll actually sum it up for you. So in 2023, here's the total oil, the total gas, water production. Interesting. You can even see that this was initially a Pioneer well that was since acquired in that Exxon Pioneer merger that went through. And then we also give you a quick download. So if you want to pull this data out, just a row by row, month by month production log for this well, you can click right there. I'll drop it right into your browser download files right there. Okay, across the top, our next tab here is the gun barrel viewer. This is a really interesting representation of what I like to call the neighborhood, right? Where are the wells drilled in relative, three-dimensional space to our subject well? And you can see our subject well is centered here at the middle of a crosshair. And we can see all of our near neighbors and this kind of like wine racking style of development that's pretty popular out here in the Permian, where they stagger them a little bit laterally and then kind of go up and down in the benches, trying to fully realize the hydrocarbon capture available in a given land footprint. We're currently coloring by formation, but if you like, you can change those coloration options. So let's do by first production year as an example. So there you go. So you can see, oh, this is pretty neat. They actually developed kind of from east to west across this this area here, or maybe it was east and then west, and then they filled in the middle. That seems more likely. Down here, we're actually giving a cut from our larger spacing table that's utilized in the analytics platform. So for example, we'll give you a count of the wells in radius. There's that closest neighbor, so the well that's closest to us, probably this guy right here, is about 275 feet away. The average wells in radius are within 330 feet. This well is a child, and it had 11 parents that were active and producing before this well came online. And they were online for an active of, what is that, about 4 years or so before this well came on. And I think that makes sense, right? So here's our parent wells in 2019, and then here's our subject well brought online in 2023. So yeah, about 4 years makes sense to me. Laterally, our closest neighbor is about 780 feet away. That's just going to be along this lateral axis here. And then our stagger closer tangent, kind of a mouthful, but it's essentially the wells that are kind of off on a skew or a diagonal from this well. How close is the nearest one that way? And then stack, that's just the vertical stack. So our nearest neighbor is probably this well, or maybe even this well right here. And the boundedness score is telling you based on vertical above, vertical below, left, right, and then the 4 diagonals, how many of those kind of octants, right, 8 segments of that boundedness definition, how many of them are actually occupied by another well? So in this case, it's kind of like a 6 out of 8. I'd say that's a pretty crowded neighborhood. You're maybe a lower, below 4 or so is probably a pretty fresh area, but this area is pretty heavily drilled, as we can see. So a 6 out of 8, I think that also tracks. We have a couple more options up here in the chart. So we have a shape by. So if we wanted to shape it by that formation value, and if we wanted to size it by something like prop per lateral foot to see which wells are fracked the most intensely, or which wells have produced the most oil, and we'll get different sized icons in the chart now. In our details pane, this is our second to last stop here. This is basically everything. In an earlier video, you probably saw that we have 170 plus different headers that we utilize to kind of feed in and inform all of the data that we have. And this is where you can get to the single listing for a given well. So everything from header information like direction and formation, all the way down to subsurface information like total organic carbon or V-clay, or anything else that we provide for a given well is all available right here. The last thing that we have in our well card is the state filings button. So what we try to do is provide a link back to the state regulatory agency that kind of has domain over the this well. Since we're in Texas, this is going to take us to the Texas Railroad Commission's website, where you can view the W1, which is their permitting form, and even get down to something like, here's the as permitted plat for this well. So if you need to get into even more details or review things like comments from the commission, you can even get down to that level of detail. Once you're done and you want to get back to perhaps your charts, or you just want to have a full screen map again, you can click this X button in the top right hand corner. and it'll bring you back to your familiar Insight Engine view. Well, that's all that we have today for the well card. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Jim Nolan with Novi Labs, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.